Welcome to the show. Today we're talking about Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 6, where the crew ventures into a complete and utter void of nothingness, where there's so little, there's barely a sound, and no way to navigate out of it. Seemingly the perfect metaphor for Star Trek Discovery Season 4. Welcome to our show. As always, I am Christian Bladt, joined as always by the one and only Nikki Bailey.
Hey, hey.
And with us this week, returning to our show, bringing us new content every day, the one and only DJ Flobito.
That
Flobo
is
Boyce.
me.
Flobo, welcome to the show.
Oh, man, thanks for having me, man. I'm down to talk about Star Trek Discovery, but more importantly, down to see your lovely faces once more.
Well, there's one face lovelier than the other on this show, but I'll leave it for the audience to decide.
Wow, Christian.
That it's obviously Nikki. Just had to
I
let
was
me
going to be
finish.
like, how you going to throw shade like that? Damn.
No. There's no shade on this show. Nothing but love. Even though sometimes the show might be trying our patience a little bit. It might be a little bit of a dysfunctional relationship with Star Trek Discovery. And before we talk about the episode, we have to start with the revelation this week that I sent this to Nikki and I'm like, what? So Discovery is going to have its mid-season finale next week, episode 7. And then season 4 will return February 10th, right after my birthday. So that gives everyone plenty of time to shop and find I don't know, find
2 days before my birthday, so they have time to get gifts for both of us, Christian.
Yes.
Is that why you invited me on?
Yes, that's actually why you're here, so that Flobo can buy gifts for both of us. I guess that the main what I read was the main reason they're doing this is that Prodigy is going to come back, the animated series. And I did watch the first hour of it and I haven't seen more, so now I guess I have 6 weeks where I could catch up on it if I wanted to, or I could dive into Lower Decks finally. But most likely, I'm just going to, that Paramount Plus button is only going to get used by my daughter looking for episodes of Paw Patrol. That might actually be the only time.
Of the two, I recommend Lower Decks, to be honest with you. I like
over Paw Patrol?
No, nothing beats Paw Patrol.
Okay,
Are you crazy, man? Are you mad?
Yeah, I mean, because look, they prove that no job's too big and no pup's too small. And I think that's really important. It's a lesson that we could all learn. No pup's too small.
But I'm kind of bummed out about the hiatus. I really am. I understand if it was like 24 episodes, but it's like, what, 13 this year? Yeah. So this is kind of weird.
There'll be 6 more. And then I think we'll get the return of our friend JL after that.
Yes, JL.
We will get JL.
We will not be calling him JL.
That's what Raffi calls him.
If Raffi calls him that, I think we get to.
Wrong.
I think I know him closer than Raffi. We've been with him for decades.
You have spent more time with him. And then I assume after Picard we'll finally get Captain Pike, but I don't know. I don't want to get too carried away. But Flobo, since this is your maiden voyage with us this season, just take a moment, and Nikki and I have been fairly outspoken as to how we've stood during these previous 5 episodes. And in the way that these 5 episodes could sort of be covered in a recap before a truly exciting episode that we just haven't gotten yet. But what we always say, Nikki, is that there has been a lot of character development, but it's like for kind of the same 4 characters. Is that's a fair assessment, right, Nikki, for what we've said thus far?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think ultimately it's a net positive. I had problems with season 3 with season 3. Yeah. Season 3 being like the gotcha. It's actually just a kid who's going through some stuff, right? Now we have a mystery that's actually science-based. A lot of these Star Trek purists were saying the science have gone away from this thing, that now we're more dramatic and it's all about emotion. So it's cool to have a science big bad if that's the case. But there are some things that annoy me this season, like how you bring back Gray just to give him nothing to do. And we'll see a little bit this week of what he does, but it's always like it's inconsequential. You kill off characters or move characters for nothing as well. So it's a flawed season. I think it's a step in the right direction. They stopped pussyfooting around about giving Captain Brim the captain's chair. That's positive, but it's not without flaws.
Absolutely. And let's
Greg.
look to the chat very quickly. Across the pond, Craig Robinson, Flobito, looking forward to this new content, which I believe Flobito provides every day, which
I
when I
try.
first met you, you only provided it every week.
Every week, yeah. That's what
yeah.
pays the bills, man.
And he's glad that the team is back together, except for
Yeah.
Frank, who has no time for us.
He doesn't.
He's so important now.
Well, now that
I
he's
know.
working on X-Men 97, basically the whole show would be me trying to get spoilers out of him. So I think he knows that. Like, aren't we here to talk about Star Trek? Yeah. But like,
You know what happens?
Yeah.
Dark Phoenix.
Which Phoenix do we get in this? Yeah, but exactly.
The Sentinels. Go on.
Yeah. So I think that look, there are some positives, and you're right in terms of like just right away. Burnham was the captain, and even though the Federation president seemed to have her misgivings early on, it seems like that's not something that's in question. Well, let's move it to Stormy Weather, which is episode 6. And again, we are talking about Star Trek Discovery Season 4, episode 6. So please, if you are spoiler averse, there's not much to be spoiled, but a little bit that could be spoiled could come through here. Nikki, I would like to start with you. Overall thoughts on this episode?
No, sorry, I didn't mean that was wrong. That was wrong. I have to say, it was much ado about nothing. Like I don't think anything. We didn't get anything new to me. Although it was really interesting to see Zora have her first emotional crisis as a sentient computer. So that was kind of cool. But the whole thing about the DMA, it bored me to tears. And I really wanted to spend the whole show with Zora. And I wanted us to dive deep into why does this computer now have feelings? That's what I want to know.
Well, we did find out that I guess because of the tonality of the voice, we could call Zora a she, but I guess it's not really accurate, but it's the representation of a she. And let's be honest, the actress who provides the voice is a she, but I don't know how to refer to it. I mean, I guess Zora would be a they, but what we know about Zora, fantastic singing voice, just like our friend Flobo. You care to give us a little something?
My voice is terrible, and I can't sing worth a lick. I'm so surprised and shocked because I had the opposite. I didn't like a lot of episodes of the season, but I really like this one. I am bought hook, line, and sinker with this DMA storyline, and I goes maybe because I got the Discovery because I'm a huge Green Lantern fan, right? So the entire time I thought maybe the DMA was sentient, maybe it was a Mogo situation. If you're an Alan Moore fan, so to get more about that mystery of like being in this like lightless black and understanding what to do, has like that little tendrils of night or light or darkness from Voyager. Like this whole thing, all that stuff was great. The thing that didn't work for me though was why does a computer have anxiety? I was the opposite of Nikki. I feel like I have anxiety. I want to watch TV shows. I don't want to watch computers have anxiety. That to me was like the part that took me out. So I actually like this episode. And I guess I'm in the minority for saying that. On both the shows.
Well, I think that, and you said both the shows, obviously everyone should know that on Flobo's channel, you can find Commander's Log. And that's on Thursdays, right?
Thursdays at 4 p.m. Pacific. Yep.
Yeah. And we bump ourselves to Mondays for the holidays.
All right.
Last week was Christmas Eve, and I was nowhere near being able to watch even 3 seconds of a TV show, much less a full hour, and then talking about it for an hour.
Yeah.
And I'll be at Legoland on Thursday.
Jealous!
So, hey, where they have a New Year's Eve countdown at 6 p.m.
Nice.
That is
Countdown
right
Iceland?
that is right up my alley because I will be in bed by 8:30.
6 p.m.
Yeah, well, because it's for kids, Flobo. Come on.
At least give me 7 or 8. It's just 6.
Not kids.
New Year,
not
you
kids.
get dinner afterwards?
You get to a certain age where 6 o'clock for New Year's Eve is ideal. I
Yeah.
don't even have kids, and I want to celebrate New Year's Eve at
Well,
6 p.m.
once like CNN started doing its own New Year's Eve, that meant that, you know, all the New Year's Eve shows for people in LA, it's on tape delay, so you had to wait. But the CNN one is live across the country, so that meant if I would, you know, my now wife and I would like, let's just watch Anderson Cooper and Kathy Griffin for, you know, at 8:59, and then by 9:05 TV's off. Good night, world.
That
There
makes
you
sense,
go.
but I can imagine being outside.
Welcome 2007. You know,
5:30 p.m. being like, all right, guys, in half an hour, it's going to be the new
can't
year.
wait. Cannot wait. Yeah, it'll be great. But so anyway, and then we'll have to be off for a few weeks. That wasn't our choice, was it, Nikki?
It was not
Paramount Plus decided that we're going to take some time off.
rude, but that's okay.
I'm going to hack through it.
Christian, what did you think of this episode, though?
Yeah, I mean, New Year's Eve notwithstanding, thank you for getting me back on track. So the positives are, I thought that it was a great opportunity for Gray to sort of be sitting there, literally, I don't know what I can do, and then proving that you can be incredibly helpful if you just ask, you know, and sort of that moment where Book is like, yeah, I can't just stay here, I'm going to go crazy. And then he, you know, he's helping out. So then it's like, all right, well, then you try and do the jump since you're here anyway. You know, I think that, you know, sort of that little lesson of pitching in. I always say her name wrong. Owasakun, is that even close? Am I even? Yeah, what you said. I liked that finally character stuff from somebody that's not the same 4 or 5 characters.
Yeah.
You know, we learned a little bit more about her, and I was reading, and this is again from the website Den of Geek, that they really go through and find stuff that I'm not smart enough to have noticed. We learned a lot about her in the season 2 Discovery episode, which was called New Eden, where they talked about how she grew up in this Luddite technology that, you know, rejected technology. And the reason I bring it up, that episode was directed by Jonathan Frakes. This episode was directed by Commander Riker himself, Jonathan Frakes. So it seems like he's got a vested interest in that character. Maybe it's total coincidence, but I don't think so. You know, I think that it was interesting to get that, because there was that moment where, you know, she was like standing up to Saru, but in a way of like, all right, let it go, you know, and that sort of like that last minute, like, oh, you know, I should apologize in case, you know, we all die, you know. Right. So I thought that I liked that. You know, I like that we got a little bit from somebody else, but it was very little. I don't know about you, Nikki, but when we had like everybody, you know, there were weird transitions where they were doing like wipes, and it was like different members of the crew, like, all right, now we've got something to do. I'm like, oh my gosh, this could be a good crew episode. It was for one member. So I liked that. I find Zora interesting, but also, you know, this idea that a computer can be nervous, I think was well covered in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy with Marvin the Paranoid Android. So it's not necessarily a new thing. You want to have Commander Data sort of dealing with, you know, emotions, but it being a ship's computer, this is something that we sort of we were actually, Nikki, you even said this early in the season, that like, so control, like we're just forgetting about all of it, right? And it seems like dealing with this sentient computer is something that we're going to get. And Flobo in the chat asked if we would trust Zora, and Craig says, I think we learned from Skynet that the answer is no. So what are your thoughts, Nikki, about what we're getting from Zora? You know, the fact that Zora is nervous and has emotion, and like literally needed to chill, needed like, needed Gray to be like, you want to play checkers? Sure.
Let's play distract checkers. You from your problems. Yeah. You know, I found Zora relatable. I found the character relatable. You know, I often find that, and the way my brain works is I'll fixate on little small things that aren't really important in the moment, and while bigger things are happening around me. So I actually found that really relatable. I found it really intriguing that it's the computer having this issue. And I would love to see an episode where the computer just is the problem, where the sentient computer is the problem, and in a way that, I think they gave us a little peek of what that could look like, but I think that would be really interesting to see, like, what's it like to really have this computer be on the fritz with emotions, um and whatever else it could do now. So I don't know. I think it's really interesting, and I'm so far Zora having feelings and the evolution of Zora is more interesting to me right now than the DMA.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I definitely agree on that in terms like the DMA. I think they just haven't given us enough to have us excited about it. The idea that it's from outside our galaxy or what have you, and it's going to have been created by somebody we don't know. I think it can be intriguing. But Flobo, you said that you're finding the DMA as a problem to solve. You're finding it to be particularly interesting. So, did you feel like this episode moved us far enough along in that way?
I mean, there's parts of it I do like. I do like the fact that they were in this situation where they saw that Dot got massacred in such the most inhumane way.
Yeah. Like I think it's
And it
screaming. I'm like,
screamed.
did we need that? Did we need that little thing to be screaming?
Oh my goodness! But I was on board because we had the information from Tarka last week. Tarka last week, and seeing what it looks like, and having Book trying to be the hero, but still not going through his own stuff, realizing you'll die first. There are some character moments we pulled from that. And again, I like this idea of it not being created outside of our known existence, being pushed upon it. And there has to be a reason. Because let's be real, the big bads we had on Discovery weren't that great. I mean, the Emerald Chain kind of collapsed pretty quickly. They weren't that interesting to me. The Zora thing, it is quick. I think that there was like, oh yeah, we have Zora. And then it's like, oh yeah, she said something. Huh. And then, oh yeah, she has feelings. So to me, does not, I haven't felt like she's earned this nervousness, but I'm happy it exists because it gives Grace something to do. Going into this episode, that was the biggest problem I had with this season so far. You bring back Gray through this whole procedure, and he's literally sitting in the lounge to the point where he says, I'm sitting in the lounge. So I'm just kind of glad that there was some pulls from that. But as far as the two stories going at once, I'm way more interested to see what is the DMA, what's the mystery, what are the rules behind this force rather than Zora.
With them kind of choosing to do this forced hiatus after next week, my expectation is that it has to end with them giving us something, but boy, I'm not 100% convinced. So I would like to see it building to something. And I think, but look, it could actually be sort of a Zora moment. I thought that the Zora story was going to be something sprinkled throughout the season, where it would be continued moments like when both Burnham and Saru are in the turbo lift, and they're sort of like, with her eyes, Burnham is like, yeah, I know. Tell me about it. Can you believe this, Zora? Huh? But it's like, and Zora even talks about, and Craig mentioned this in the chat. Yeah, here it is right here, actually. Burnham skipped past her question of whether or not Burnham trusts Zora. And I mean, one, I don't think Burnham trusts Zora, and two, Burnham should not trust Zora at this point. Or am I being too harsh, Nikki?
I think Burnham, ultimately in the episode, she said she did trust Zora, but no, she can't trust Zora yet. Zora,
but no,
like, Zora is a computer that now has feelings, and we already know that can be sticky. We know from all of our other sci-fi knowledge that a sentient computer is a scary thing.
Yeah, so, look at Vicky on Small Wonder. Really, you can go anywhere.
I was gonna say iRobot had Vicky too, but yeah, Small Wonder's a better example.
Yeah, I was going for the wackier reference, but yes, on iRobot as well. But yeah, look, when machines have feelings, bad things can happen, and I did think that it was a telling moment when Burnham says, "You're going to have to get everybody out of the buffer." And Zora's like, "I'll do that because I care about them, so I'll do it." But it's almost like, all right, so if it was like another ship where you didn't know the people, you'd be like, nah, I'm just not feeling it today. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know.
I have no emotional connection to those people, so it won't bother. Yeah. Well, I think that'll be an interesting thing to see, right? Like, is that going to be something that comes up for Zora in the process? Her relationship with the crew, is that going to get in the way of her ability to function?
Is she going to sing? Is she going to sing for us every week?
I hope not. God, that was just.
You hate music too.
I love music. I love the song "Stormy Weather."
Stormy Weather.
I even thought she sang it fine, but I don't know that we needed it in that moment.
We did not need it in that moment. We did not need it at all. It made me. It was the ultimate moment of corniness for me. Having her sing Stormy, it was just so corny.
Yeah. One of the things that I think we find a lot is that the limitations for telling stories, even in the 23rd century, much less the 32nd century, is the limitations are that they're written in the 20th and 21st century. So there's going to be references to songs from, our lifetimes or our grandparents' lifetimes or whatever. But also you're going to problem solve with antiquated technology like sonar. And I'm like, I guess.
Oh, what? That was cool.
It was cool, but it's like, so there's nothing from like the 300 years that these guys lived.
Right, there's no greatest hits. Where's the WoW 3122 CD? Like, come on.
Now that's what I call music. 600, 450.
All Klingon noises.
But in terms of the sonar, yes, it's interesting, but it's also a 20th century solution to, it's like, oh, well, I guess, whale song solves this problem. There's so many times in Star Trek where the solution is 20th century based. And look, what we really need are writers from the future. That's what they really need. So
book it.
Or they need to take a chance and do something like, do you remember in The Fifth Element, that opera song that was like just the crazy high voice opera thing? They could have created something new. They didn't need to use an old like that song's old to us. They could have come up with something.
Yeah, at least, in Guardians of the Galaxy, at least Peter Quill has a cassette of K-Tel's Super Sounds of the 70s, essentially, and that's why it's the soundtrack to that movie. This is like, all right, so she has all this knowledge, and it's like, so there's not like a Romulan pop song that that you want to sing. You got
a comforting Vulcan tune that Michael would have heard as a child.
But to be fair, as we're talking about this, I do believe that Saru was listening to some soothing noises from Kaminar. So we've at least had, it wasn't like, the fact that in the J.J. Abrams movies, the fact that 2 of those movies used the Beastie Boys Sabotage, I was like, oh, come on, you got to have something else. And I got nothing but love for the Beastie Boys Sabotage. That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is like, really, so that's all there is that they can
intergalactic, planetary.
Yeah, exactly. They mentioned Mr. Spock in that song, for God's sake. And I agree wholeheartedly with Craig. We need Klingon opera.
I agree with that.
Absolutely.
But I think that, look, they did a nice job of some problem solving in here. And, I think little character moments, we talked about some, but even Stamets saying like, well, I guess I really should learn how to delegate, and just saying like, yeah, it makes sense for Book to, be the one to try and do the jump, even though he got fried.
I'm about to say, yeah, good call, Stamets. Yeah, right, you should do that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, I'm not. So look, does anybody feel that Book's father should have had a British accent? I don't know. I just have to put it out there because it definitely distracted me a little bit.
It distracted me as well.
Okay, good. It's not just me. And also I think if they ever have a speech adapter for Grudge should also have a British accent. I'm just putting that on record. The actor that they chose was fine. I think it conveyed all the emotions. It's not that. I was just like, but why doesn't he sound like he does? You know,
I didn't even realize that, but you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this episode's weird. No,
and he used his birth name, not his Family Guy name of Cleveland Brown. No, I know it's Cleveland Booker. But yeah. No, not his microwavable container name of Tyrex. But look, I think we've really gotten so much out of Book after sort of, we had a tragedy that happened to his entire planet in the first episode, and as tough as it's been for the character, we've really gotten so much more out of him than I thought we would ever get out of that character when he was introduced in season 3.
Yeah.
And he, so yes, we have moved aside some of our beloved characters from earlier in the run to make way for newer characters, but I think in this case it's really making for a much richer storytelling, but also we're getting a lot more out of Michael because of that. What do you think about one, Book's American dad, or I guess he could be a Canadian dad, I don't want to, but his non-British dad, and in fact the fact that they shoot the show in Toronto, that actor's probably Canadian if I had to guess. But what did you think, Flobo?
That's like the second Seth MacFarlane reference. I like that. American Dad. You know what? I didn't notice that he was American until you mentioned it. I just thought like, hey, look, black dad. Cool. But you're right. It is kind of weird that's the case. Book is someone that I worried about for a long time. I thought he'd just be a character prop, like the archetype of the significant other, but they really gave him his own path. And I'm also glad in this episode, Book's dad appears once and then goes away, because I felt that it would be totally unfair for me to like drag this show for saying, hey, look, Gray has been in someone's brain for a whole season, and they do that again with Book. I mean, a repeat beat. So it was cool that he had a little bit of a progression there. It was fine. I hope it doesn't come back again. But as far as Book being a part of this ship, I think he's put himself pretty well, and he's kind of in the mix of everyone.
Yeah, I mean, Nikki, we say that week in, week out here, but what did you think about what Book was able to contribute? I mean, the whatever that manifestation was of his dad, clearly that was his own feelings about himself, his own shortcomings, right?
Sure. Yeah, it was, I think another way of showing how Book is working through his grief, we got to see the part of him that's been battling himself with his anger over what happened, with his feeling helpless about not being able to do anything or do more. We saw that play out in the conversation with his father, but ultimately we got to see that Book trusts that he's in the right place at the right time, and stood up for himself and stood up to his dad, saying, this is I'm here doing the best I can. And I am so impressed with David Ajala this season that like I could watch Book just for the whole show, and not just in the bound chicka bound way, but like
but also in that way.
But also,
I mean, that's why I'm watching them.
Yeah, I think we're 100% agreement on this panel about that. And look, in another universe, in a couple days, we're about to get the Book of Boba Fett. So how about the Book of Book? I mean, why don't they just give us that? I'm glad Flobo liked that as well.
Leather bound, yeah.
But I think that I think that ultimately Book and Gray were very interesting in this episode, and I think that both characters, I mean, Gray was always more of an extension of Adira until now, which I think makes Gray a much more interesting character now that Gray doesn't just exist inside their head. It's like actually like able to talk to Zora and everyone else. And speaking of which, Craig had this point. I thought it funny that Gray asked Zora what's going on, and Zora said, I can't tell you. And Gray was like, oh, come on. So Zora just spilled all the beans. What about security? Yeah, that was an interesting moment. Like, come on, you could tell me. Well, I mean, you're not on the crew, but I mean, since you're talking to me, yeah, all right, that's fine.
Security risk, yeah.
Yeah,
But again, Zora is a little problematic in that with emotions, now she wants to make friends, right? So
yeah,
in order to be likable, she spilled the beans.
yeah, I know. It could lead to like a moment of like, Zora, you gave that Klingon bird of prey our schematics for the entire ship. Yeah, but they were so nice.
Right.
So yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see where the Zora storyline goes. And I mean the little bits that we've gotten this season. I don't know. I just feel like if next week's episode doesn't really go, it doesn't have to go all in on the DMA, but at least one big reveal. If it's like, oh, we know who created it, and their ship is approaching now, and we don't have to see it. Just something for us to talk about next week, Nikki.
I agree. Even if they just did a jump outside of the galaxy, just and for the first time we're seeing, for the first time in a long time, we're seeing what happens outside of our galaxy. That would be really nice. Like just something different and interesting that oh, Flobo's shaking his head no. I'm like, what, Flobo? Tell me.
Tell us, Flobo.
No, I don't. No, I feel terrible. I'm just saying, Burnham almost died. Got like lambasted into fiery flames, and you guys are like, we want more. We want more. She almost died for y'all.
Yeah. By the way, the captain's supposed to go down with the ship, not take a nap while the ship possibly explodes.
I'm just kidding.
No, I know. Yeah. But I think that look, that's the moment, because as much as Burnham was able to defer to Zora, is like, well, I got to be in the captain's chair, but you know what, I'm not really going to be able to be awake for this, so we'll put faith in you. And yeah, look, I do think wherever it goes, it will be interesting. We'll see what happens with it, but I mean, these are really the two things that we're exploring so far in the season, and Zora is really a new. I'm trying to think, like, when did Burnham first refer to the ship as Zora? That wasn't even in the first episode. That was a few shows in. Mm-hmm. And we're only 6 episodes into the season, but God, I could swear it was already 15. But it's but just
it does feel a bit like the pace is more of a 24 episode season than it is of a 12 or 13 episode season. So I think that there's the part of me that misses the sort of leisurely pace of the Next Generation, because we had so much time to look at to spend with these people. That leisurely pace doesn't work for streaming in the same way. So I think that they need to find some balance between the character stuff and giving us some real action every week.
That was my problem with season 2. Season 2 specifically for me, I can see why Frank jumped off then. I felt like it was like nothing, and then Red Angel. Like it's kind of like bam towards the back half of it. I think we're getting that again, which is kind of a detriment to it. But Nikki's right. I mean, you don't have 24 seasons. There's no way there should be a hiatus now with a 13 episode season. I mean, other networks drop 13 episodes at a time. What are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, like, let Prodigy sink or swim on its own merits. Don't clear the deck, no pun intended, just because it's like, all right, there's only one Star Trek show that if Discovery and Picard were both on new episodes at the same time, people would watch both. So I don't know. I feel like Prodigy. Also, why is Prodigy coming back in the middle of Discovery season? This seems like a them problem instead of an us problem, but they've made it an us problem while they're like, I don't know, and who knows? Maybe there's they need more time in post.
My conspiracy theory is that those areas in the world that don't have Paramount Plus are still going to get it on delay. So about January, February. So they'll be getting the first couple episodes, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, in a lot of those places, they did after the first week or two, they figured out a way to, it airs like on satellite channels or cable channels, and Nikki just had enough of the two of us. But I'm sure she's just like, well, that's it. I'm
Yikes.
gone.
Oh no.
No, she'll come back, I'm sure. At least I'm relatively sure that she'll be back.
Oh.
But yeah, in terms of that, and look, that does give them more time to launch Paramount Plus around the world, so that for a February, like a February 1 rollout of Paramount Plus in some of these other countries, look, that you can say conspiracy theory all you want, but if that happens, it makes perfect sense,
Yeah.
because it is their most valuable property, Star Trek. And if you're a fan of Star Trek, you've noticed it is slowly but surely coming off of every other streaming service. You have some stray series here and there that are still around on, I think Amazon Prime might still have some.
Correct.
But it used to all be on Netflix. I mean, here in the US, all on Netflix except for Discovery and then Picard. But now it's really just on Paramount Plus. And, in a way, it's easier that it's all in one place. But it also used to all be on Netflix. And that was fairly
charge every month
at that point. But I don't know. I think that it's not a great time to take a break. I think in the past, when they've done those breaks, it has come at a good moment, but I guess we'll know more next week, won't we, Flobo?
I'm hoping we do. I mean, this is, again, I feel like it was kind of this is something that I'm not sure you dealt with this, but I have, trying to schedule the shows, the Commander's Log, is that these episode titles come out pretty late. The schedule is kind of like, you have to go do back channels to find out what's going on. I feel like it could be a lot more accessible for people like us, right?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Nikki?
Hi. I think my internet went out for a few seconds there.
I think that Zora didn't like what you'd had to say.
Apparently, I'm being punished.
Yeah, and Zora tried to teach you a lesson.
Lesson has been taught.
Although, really, if Zora was going to teach any of us a lesson, it's Flobo, because
I know
Nikki and I are on record as saying that we're interested in
the DMA is so much better. Bye, guys.
Yeah, and then Flobo flips out. Yeah. So in terms of, one of the most fun things of any of these shows is, little Easter eggs, references that in no doubt, refer to things that we remember. And of course, for me, the Easter egg of referencing the pattern buffer with the transporter is, of course, directly referencing the Next Generation episode Relics, which is when Scotty C. Montgomery Scott, I believe, spent 75 years, maybe it was. I haven't seen it in a long time, but he put himself inside the pattern buffer to save his life. So we knew that it could work. But then there also Zora's like, yeah, but you also might all die. But yeah, and then reference to the galactic barrier, which the first reference to the galactic barrier goes all the way to not the original pilot, but the Kirk pilot, if you will, where no man has gone before. So this idea of the galactic barrier has been around for a while. And then, of course, we also had a couple references we had a reference to the Enterprise and Voyager. So the best that our friends at Den of Geek were able to come with was that the reference was from Star Trek Insurrection, which does not exist in a happy point in my memory. So the fact that there was a subspace tear, but then also Voyager, it's like, well, either the Omega Directive or Cold Fire. So that's why I like that people who know this stuff better than I do kind of go through. One of the things I did like as we start to wind down, I wanted to know what you all kind of thought. I liked seeing Burnham do the family tree like we had seen last week, mostly because, at least at a glimpse, it brought Tilly back for like a second. It brought not one but two Georgios back to us.
Yeah. I loved that too.
And I liked that that Zora had one, which was basically like everybody on the ship and Tilly, I don't know. Flobo, if you did a
Yo.
tree, obviously Nikki and I would be on it, right?
Yeah, I would do it, but I would feel weird because I felt weird watching this. Because I
Oh,
mentioned, I said, isn't the Logie orb a cultural thing to a specific race of people? Like,
so
it
you're
felt kind of odd
saying
to me.
you're saying that Burnham and Zora are guilty of cultural appropriation?
Absolutely. I was like,
Okay,
hey,
that's
Burnham,
fair.
what are you
Yeah,
doing?
yeah, that's like, showing up at a Halloween party in like a sacred Native American headdress and
Oh,
war paint
yeah.
and
See,
be like,
I'm gonna
what?
disagree. I'm gonna disagree.
Okay, I like it.
She said she was inspired by the orb.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's okay if we are inspired by other cultures, as long as we understand the significance of what that inspiration is to that culture. And Burnham understood the significance.
Well, next time you buy a Dave the Dare branded beer, I'm going to say, see, Nikki? They were inspired by a holiday now.
Well, no, but I mean, I guess Flobo's not willing to learn from other cultures, is what he's trying to
That's
say.
no wonder Zora hates me. Jeez.
Zora. Yeah, you are not on Zora's family tree for sure. Yeah, look, I thought that it was nice, and that from like a practicality standpoint, thinking about the fact that they have to like actually pay Michelle Yao for using her likeness in the episode, and things like that. And I'm like, but they did it anyway. I'm like, good. I'm glad that because it wouldn't have made sense. And it had little baby Spock. It had hipster Silver Lake Spock too. She had multiple Spocks on there, and Sarek and Amanda, and it was like, yeah, this is representative of Burnham's life as we've known her over these 4 seasons, and not just like, well, the characters that we're already paying her in the main cast. Let's just put Stamets and Book in there, and maybe Grudge. But I thought it was sweet. But Flobo was a little bit more concerned than he was able to feel anything
Now,
inside.
to be fair, the guy who had the actual Logie orb died for it. So I was like, wait a minute. Why would you go ahead and go back to that episode? I was just like, maybe I'm just a bitter old man who's a purist when it comes to that sort of thing.
That's true. Well, I mean, and again, that old man being named Felix is, of course, very important and always worth mentioning when that comes up. Someone else in the chat, Mr. Spinner, not Spiner, but it's an honor to have you here. No one's talking about it, but I find the music from the last episode to be absolutely phenomenal. And he explains the whole musical score of the episode. I find the music to always be good on this show. I'm going to admit that I didn't notice it being particularly good this week, but this show has sort of a cinematic feel in every way, and that includes the score. I do think that it's great. But it honestly didn't stand out for me in any way this week, but I always think it's good. But we're glad that you see it on there. And Craig also wants to give a hand to Jonathan Frakes for doing another good job in the chair. And Mr. Spinner, I also really liked that the anomaly originates from another galaxy. I hope this season serves as an introduction, and next season is the full-on invasion of Species 10C. Oh, man, a full-on invasion. I mean, that could certainly be interesting,
I love that idea. You got the Federation trying to rebuild. Nobody's quite ready to take on a new enemy. Yes, Mr. Spinner, I think you've got something nice there.
Yeah.
Be really great to find out that Mr. Spinner is like a writer on the show, and he's like under some secret alias.
Oh, I really want him to be Brent Spiner, is what I really want. And he thought, like, I'm going to throw them off. I'm going to just put Spinner.
Right.
Either that, or he'll be the actor who played Spinner on Degrassi. And because Flobo's here, I couldn't resist.
Yeah, I was going to say he's like the composer. The music's really great this week.
Mr. Yeah, if you look at the credits for the episode, the composer for this episode is Mr. Spinner. But to be fair, I always think the music is great. Consistently from the pilot all the way through this episode. I think that the pilot, the score, the effects, and really just visually, the audio, everything about the show is cinematic because of the amount of money that they spend on it, and it shows. And I mean, earlier Star Trek series are all hampered by the fact that they were produced for television on television budgets using television sets. And, none of them were really able to utilize CGI. I mean, even Enterprise didn't really, and that was the most recent one before this. So I think that we're able to really, I don't know. I really appreciate the show, even episodes. And look, this season is, unless it really takes an about face, this season is going to be my least favorite of the four, because it has really just trudged along. And yes, Flobo, I even prefer Takuvma to this.
Takuma.
I know how much you love Takuvma.
My favorite season. I love
Everybody loves to say Takuvma. But the second season is still my favorite, because the Mirror Universe and Pike. Last season won me over because I was like, man, what are they going to do? And that was why our friend Frank Moran was like, when season 2 ended, he's like, I don't need any more stories from these people. I do believe he has watched, but I mean, he wasn't as excited about it at that point. But I think season 3 won me over, and I would like this season to win me over, but we're like half done now. So
I am floored, because 3 was totally like homework for me, and I felt like finally a science mystery on the vein of CSI or Green Lantern Corps. I'm not saying it's like revolutionary, game changing, but at least I feel like to me an upgrade over season 3.
So you're comparing it to CSI. Does that mean that you would have liked for Zora to sing "Won't Be Fooled Again" by The Who?
Yeah, give me some Behind Blue Eyes would be my favorite. Why not?
Squeeze Bob O'Reilly.
Teenage Wasteland.
Yeah, no, nobody wants to hear Squeeze Box. I think that's fair. In any case, look, I always find the show interesting, even though the euphemistic way to say it is that this season has been deliberately paced, but we've gotten some really good character stuff from characters that, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about them when they were introduced. And, I mean, we're really getting, I feel like we really know Michael Burnham now, and watching her in the captain's chair and how she reacts, and knowing that she doesn't get to go hide in the pattern buffer, that she needs to sit there in that chair. I think that that's probably, for me, that's the best thing about the season, is that we get to see that, she deserves to be captain and that she can handle it. And even though she initially bridles when she gets any kind of criticism, she is able to learn from it. What do you think about that, Nikki?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with your assessment of each of the seasons thus far. I think I'm on the same page with you. I think that this season's definitely much, what did you say? Deliberately paced?
Yeah, I think that's a nice way to say
it's a nice way to say it. But I do think that we're getting a chance to learn about Burnham when she's not crying all the time, which is nice. And she's, we're getting to see her step into her captainship, which I'm really enjoying. I'm enjoying that she is arriving and is prepared, it seems, to be in that chair. I actually, though, I'm not going to lie to you, the time that Saru was in charge during this episode, I felt a little more comfortable with Saru. I was like, oh, okay, right, because Saru knows how to hit. So like I felt like that I still love Saru as the captain, but I am Burnham is winning me over as captain of the Discovery.
Right. One interesting point Mr. Spinner makes is I loved season 1 and 2, but season 3 was really bad for me.
Yes.
It undermined Saru's character by pushing Burnham to the chair, and also the burn. It felt underwhelming. The reveal of the burn was not strong. I agree with that, but this season feels better. Yeah. And flat out, Mr. Spinner hated the idea of Burnham taking the captaincy from Saru. But I mean, it was given to her because he stepped down, and he wasn't in the right headspace at that moment. I think he really felt like he needed to help out. But I agree. But What about you, Flobo? Sort of the big takeaways so far from this season as we get perilously close to the mid-season break here.
Well, look, I like Burnham in the captain's chair. I think everything has pretty much been a culmination of the Vulcan side, the human side, her experiences, the tragedies, her being raised by not one but both of her Joes. The transition was a bit rough. I will agree with that, from Saru to Burnham, but I think in her role right now, she's very capable of being on a ship and knows when to delegate. And I wonder, I know we didn't even talk about this, but like when Book's dad was like, she's going to choose Starfleet over you. Will that ever be a thing when she has to choose the job over the person she loves? But that's kind of a ticking time bomb for later. Other than that, I'm on board.
Yeah, and by the way, she would absolutely choose Starfleet over Book. I mean, she's chosen Starfleet over, well, not over everything. I mean, she still, mutineered her first ship in the pilot, but apart from that, she does tend to put Starfleet first. Well, we've got one more episode this calendar year and one more episode before the mid-season break. What's the one thing you most hope we see next week, Nikki?
Ooh, I want to see more of the other bridge characters. They all had so much. They all had lines this week.
Yeah,
Bryce
was the one who got to drop the scuba knowledge, not scuba, sorry, sonar knowledge.
The sonar
My
knowledge.
boy.
I love that they're lighting Owo better now. She's, not in shadow all the time, which I love. So I still, if we're going to do this character development thing this season, let me see all of the characters. Give me more of the bridge crew. Let me care about them and love them the way that I loved the crew of the Enterprise or Voyager. Let me get to know them and love them in that same way. That's what I'm hoping we get more of next week. I also hope there's some, like you said, Christian, some big DMA step forward so that becomes more interesting again. Like there has to be, I need something from that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And Craig throws this in. I think Saru gives a good motivational speech. Maybe he should be the ship's counselor. Flobo, what do you hope we see next week before the big mid-season hiatus?
I'm actually with that. I think it'd be kind of cool to give Culber more of a split. I want to see more Dr. Pollard. We had 2 Linus references. I actually want to see Linus. I want proof of life for Linus.
He was under the lamp, yeah.
Under the lamp. Yeah, definitely a DMA reveal. I think if you're going to go over a break, you got to give us a mystery at the end to hook us. So you got to see who's creating it or what's creating it. I think that's first and foremost. Will Zor be an ally or foe? That's something as well. But also maybe nicely give me a scene to see if Tilly landed well. I know she went off to the ship, off into the ether. We don't know what's going to happen to her end when she landed. So I want to see how she's doing as well.
And also, I think we need a grudge-centric episode. Let's be honest; they've been teasing it for so long. No, I definitely hope that they don't have to give us the whole thing before they go on break for 6 weeks. But I would really appreciate sort of a big moment that literally a week from right now, we'll still be talking about like, well, what could this possibly mean? And there'll be excitement about what all the questions that it raises. One final thought from Mr. Spinner. Burnham's character development was like a U-turn last season, in my opinion. She never listened to orders and was even demoted, and then they redeemed her really fast. And season 4, I kind of admit I like her as captain. And Craig says they need a proper holodeck for the bridge crew to have an adventure. That's true.
Dixon Hill.
Yeah, they need. That's what I said. I wanted to have Dixon Hill style adventures, or on Discovery they had on Deep Space Nine they had the baseball episode. So there's a lot that we can try and get from that. But we'll see where the season goes. At least for now, we'll see on Thursday. But we'll be back on Monday to discuss it. Both myself and Nikki and Flobo, we appreciate you coming in. You're always welcome to join in whenever you can. But remind everyone where they can find you and Commander's Log.
You can find me all over the internet, flowbeato.com. Got a Patreon at patreon.com/Flobo Boyce, and all my videos are available at youtube.com/Flobo Boyce. But Commander's Log, the sister show, come on through whenever you can. Thursdays at 4 p.m. We're going to do throwback episodes in the breaks. We're not going to stop. We're going to do other things from all throughout the world of Discovery every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific on YouTube, youtube.com/Flobo Boyce. And if you, Nikki, and you, Chris, are available, come on through. Have us have a little party.
Yeah, no, that. Thank you for the invite, and we will take a break while the show takes a break. We're not going to fill the time. Good for Flobo. That so right there, he's filling the subspace void created by this show. So we will not provide new content every week. We'll provide content after 6 weeks. But Nikki, obviously we'll be back next week, but if people want to keep in touch with you, how do they do that?
You can find me at NikkiBaileyComedy.com or on all the social medias at NikkiBailey_.
And you can find me at Christian DMZ on Twitter and Instagram. And please subscribe to the Blackcast YouTube channel, just like Mr. Spinner subbed. Great stream. That's right. You can hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, y'all. And you can give us the like, subscribe. We appreciate everybody's support. And of course, you can, as I said, find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. And if you subscribe to the Blackcast YouTube channel, you get this show. And we had jam-packed a lot of episodes of our show, Marvel Movie Talk, in the last couple weeks. Multiple Spider-Man movies, movie episodes. We did every episode of Hawkeye, and so much more to come. And we appreciate all of it, but we will see you in the new year one more time on Monday. And Mr. Spinner gives us a hit it,
all right,
but
Pike.
Craig really hits with Let's Fly. And we'll fly back onto your screens next Monday. Bye, everybody. Until then,